Hey everyone, I'm Ian Douglas, the author of the website techinterview.guide. I do live streams every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern about topics relevant to interview preparation for the tech industry. I occasionally record longer Q&A sessions, and I've started to break those into smaller videos to post. And there'll be information at the end of this video about how to get in contact with me if you have additional questions. Let's get to it. I applied for 2 jobs, one great and one excellent. I got an offer for the great one and signed the paper, and then the excellent one called and wants to interview. What should I do? So this sounds very much like another one that I answered, I think in the last stream, where someone said, I just started a job at a startup and Google called and they wanted like the final round interview at Google. What do I do? And my answer for this one's probably the same thing. If you've already signed that offer, you know, you've kind of got that company excited that, yay, hiring is over, because it's a lengthy experience to hire somebody. It's an expensive experience to hire somebody. And if you've signed that offer, then, you know, they're starting to shut things down on their side, and they're starting to send out notices to everybody else saying, hey, thanks, but we filled the position. If you turn around and say, oh, JK, just kidding, I'm going to like go take this other job instead. Now they've got to like, you know, if they've already reached out to somebody saying, sorry, we filled the position, the company can't really go back to that person and say, oh, actually the position just reopened, so if you still want it, you can have it. Because then the person feels really kind of dejected at that point. It's like, you know, now they know they came in second place, right? And that's it's not a great feeling to have as a human. So knowing that you weren't their number one pick, but I would say if you've already signed an offer and you still have these other interviews going, I have a couple of ideas on this one. I would say, first of all, I probably wouldn't have signed the offer. I would probably have held off signing the offer and let that company know, like, hey, you know what, I'm still finishing up the interview process with another company. I'd really like to respect that process if possible. So if I could have a small extension to sign this offer, I would appreciate it. On one hand, that can play to your advantage and also to a disadvantage. The disadvantage of it is the company's going to feel like, well, if you really wanted our job, like, why wouldn't you just take our offer? I've actually worked with someone who, you know, I would kind of coordinate with them and say, hey, I want to hire this person, and I would extend the offer, and I would say, hey, you got a couple of days to think about it, let us know. And they would call them like later that day going, what's your answer? If you really want the job, you'll just tell me yes while I get you on the phone. So what's it going to be? And I actually lost out on a lot of good candidates that way. And so I had to have a really hard conversation with them saying, like, knock that off. Like, we want to give them time to think about the offer. And if they're interviewing somewhere else, like, you know, I get it. We like them. We want to hire them, but we're not the only game in town. We're not the only company trying to hire people. And so we need to be respectful of them and their time. And so as a candidate, if you get an offer, but you're still in an interview stage with someone else, you could ask for, you know, a little bit of an extension. At the same time, you could push the other company and say, hey, I got an offer. I have an offer in hand. Offer in hand are the 3 magic words, offer in hand. Just basically say, like, could we speed this up? I'd really rather work for you. Is there anything that we can do to speed up this interview process? I'm going to try to ask them for an extension because I'd really rather work for you. So what can we do to like speed the timeline? That'll probably move mountains on their side to be like, oh, they really like us. Okay, well, let's see what we can do to get you in early for that interview, or maybe we can skip an interview thing because clearly someone's made you an offer. You are hireable and you are desirable as a person. So it can definitely speed things up on their side. Not always, but sometimes. But the question was, you know, one great company and one excellent company. It kind of sounds like, okay, well, the great one wasn't your number one choice, but, you know, your number one choice later called and now they want to interview. That sounds like you haven't even started the interview process with them. So in that scenario, if I were to look at it very objectively as a candidate, I've applied at a couple of jobs. I get an offer from one and I never heard back from the other one. So I made it all the way through the interview process with company B, my second choice company, made it all the way through their process and got an offer. And I never even got into the interview with my first choice company A. I mean, at that point, you've committed then to take that offer for company B. I mean, you still applied there. You still took that job. So I would suggest like just take that job. Work at it for a little while. You can always tell the other company like, hey, you know what? I just started a job. I was waiting, never heard back from you, but that's okay. Let's see if we can, reschedule this for another time, or have something, like if it doesn't work out, or can I reapply in 6 months or 8 months, or something along those lines. I think that you could definitely sort of pick that up and play that up a little bit. Um, so yeah, I think you do need to be a little bit careful on some of that. You don't want to play it off like, I don't really care about your company, or I don't give, a rip about like who you are and what you do. I'm just going to like go do this other interview. But I think because you've signed the offer, you should probably commit to taking that job. Especially if you haven't yet started the interview process with the other one, and just count it as a loss, reapply back to them later on. Hey, thanks for watching. I love helping people out with interview prep, and I hope this video helped you in some way. If you found this Q&A useful, please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitch as well for the live stream twice a week. Check out techinterview.guide/streaming for more information. I also have a daily email series that you can subscribe to on the website. There are never any ads, and when you finish the series, I scrub your information out of my database permanently. Finally, if you have a question that you'd like answered on the stream, you can find my contact info on techinterview.guide. I prefer LinkedIn or email. If you leave your question in a YouTube comment, it might take me longer to find it, but I'll see you next time.